pocket and make big throws. So, yeah, I mean, that's where I'm going to start there with my superlative, talking about, what they did to Jacksonville, making them walk the plank there, right? Kings of North Florida. There's 2 superlatives for you. Figure that out. Arr, matey, walk it, Jacksonville, jump into the Tampa Bay. I mean, that's what they did. But, yeah, that was a butt whooping. I mean, concerning for Jacksonville, as we know, but, the big thing is big plays with Baker's right arm, capitalizing off of the Jacksonville dysfunction, turnovers, the issues they're having, and that led to the Buccaneers. Every time you looked over, you're like, oh, hey, it's 10-0. Oh, it's 13-0. Jacksonville will make this a game. What? It's 20-0. What? It's 27-0. Like, what the hell's going on here? But yeah, between the ability to pressure Trevor Lawrence, some of the plays they made, interceptions, out-hitting the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jaguars look like cats in water right now. That's what they look like. They look like somebody made them walk the plank, and we know cats aren't real comfortable in water. But Baker Mayfield on fire. The Bucs are feeling it, and the defense making a few plays too. They feel much more dangerous than they did last year with Tom Brady at quarterback. They do. There's a little different feel about this team, and not as many issues, I think, with the team in general as there was last year.
Cowboys at Buccaneers for the second straight year in the wild card round. It's got a different vibe now than it had last year.
Yeah.
And I think the Cowboys are going to have their hands full if they have to go to Tampa Bay to start the playoff run. And we'll see. It's not home. It's not turf. It could be a challenge for the Cowboys that they didn't quite anticipate.
Yeah, right.
When they were having that special phase of their season. So good for the Bucs and good for us because it makes for a much better 4-5 playoff game than we thought we were going to get with the none of the above NFC South. The Buccaneers established themselves as the best team in that division.
That'd be a good one. I mean, like you said, Dallas playing man-to-man against Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and doing all that, right? And just, hey, wait, before you hit your superlative too, like, man, Jacksonville, right? Like, man, has it fallen fast? It's fallen aggressively. It's bad.
We're going to talk about it coming up.
Okay, fine.
We're going to talk about it coming up.
Okay,
we got a whole segment. We got a whole segment for it. By the way.
I should read the rundown.
By the way.
What?
That's okay. I never do. Think about this.
Yeah.
Cowboys go one and done. What does Jerry do about Mike McCarthy? Does Shereen Williams end up getting the matching bookend tattoos on her cheeks, not her face? Not those cheeks?
Wait,
we were giving her a hard time about it. Remember, she said if Bill Belichick becomes the coach of the Cowboys, that she'll get Jerry Jones on one cheek and Belichick on the other.
Gosh, I almost have to root for that to happen. I just almost have to root for it, even though I don't really want to, but I want it. So that's a tough one there.
All right, first one for me. And, it's fitting. It was Christmas Eve. Before St. Nick flew around the world to give all the kids on the nice list their gifts, St. Nick Mullens gave the Lions. Apparently the Lions are on the nice list because they got 4 gifts from Santa during the game on Sunday. And
this is the new thing around right now.
Yeah. These AI-generated graphics where, look at the dude on the left. Look at his hand. Like, how many fingers does he have? So they need to tell the AI.
It looks like there's about six or seven
4
fingers
fingers
there.
and a thumb. Yeah, exactly. But well done. I saw one of those with Derek Carr jersey. I've seen him with several different jerseys, and they're pretty good.
The Derek Carr one, they're like giving him the middle finger as he opens up the gift. It's like even more harsh than that.
Must be the Simms family Christmas.
Exactly.
Simms family Christmas. Here's Mullens, and this is the one that ended the game. Justin Jefferson gets doubled all game, and he's finally wide open. He's finally wide open. And what is that throw?
He whiffed
Unbelievable.
It. He threw a quacker.
Unbelievable.
He threw a quacker. He really did. Look at the quality of the ball as it goes through the air. I think he's trying to throw that ball like 5 feet, 5 more yards to the right. He misses it so bad. And it comes out of his hand funny. But, Mike, as I said to you in text on Friday, or on Sunday, when we were watching this game, I did feel bad for you. I really did, because the Vikings they're better than last year. They'd be more of a danger in the NFC playoffs this year than last year. If Kirk Cousins was there, I'd be going, oh man, Vikings, nobody's going to want to see them with this Brian Flores defense and these receivers and what they're doing. That game was there to be had. You know, you guys moved the ball up and down the field on Detroit. Certainly could have won the football game. The Nick Mullens mistakes killed you.
Well, and the catch that Justin Jefferson made on 3rd and 27 was that moment like we saw in Buffalo last year where you sense an inevitability that you're going to cash in. When you have a memorable catch like that, it follows up because the next play, Brandon Powell gets them down to where they were. And I'm sitting, how in the hell are they going to win this game? This game was over. How are they going to pull this off? Oh, wait, they're not going to pull it off. It was all just a Christmas tease as Nick Mullens finishes with 4 interceptions, 400-plus passing yards, 4 interceptions. And keep an eye on Jaren Hall for this week. I know the Vikings are taking a very close look at whether or not to flip back to the guy who was the original replacement for Kirk Cousins after the torn Achilles tendon, and he suffered the concussion on the first drive against the Falcons and opened the door for Josh Dobbs. Back to Jaren Hall with the season on the line. We'll see them Sunday night at home against the Packers. They face the Lions next weekend again. They're not done yet, although it sure feels like they're close. They need help at this point. They got to win the last 2 to get to 9-8. I don't think they're a viable playoff team if they get there, and I'm not saying that as some sort of reverse psychology, and I'm not trying to set up some other jinx or backlash or whatever. We've said for the past few weeks, we want teams in that we think are viable. Seahawks and Rams are viable. Vikings aren't viable because they can't finish. They're competitive, but they can't finish. Too many turnovers, too many bad decisions, too many bad throws, too many bad things happen that they inflict on themselves.
Well, yeah, I think the feeling is you feel like their quarterback play can't get them through the clutch in a big moment in a playoff game, right? That's kind of what I feel, at least. I think there's everything else you like about their football team. I don't know. I mean, how do you feel? All right, try to erase the bitterness of your Christmas Eve. But, do you think Jaren Hall playing is the right call? That's one where I just go, I don't know if I would do that. Throwing a rookie out there who, again, played 1 drive and then got his head knocked off and got a concussion. Now you're going to throw him in there in this moment? I'm not sure that's the right thing, too. Now, I understand there's probably frustration with Nick Mullens, and certainly a few of those head-scratching interceptions in the game where you're like, what were you doing or looking at? And that's happened 2 weeks in a row. But, man, I can't imagine Jaren Hall coming in and being able to execute the offense to a capacity that they could look at it and go, well, maybe we'll sneak in the playoffs this way.
I think that part of the reason for doing it is get him some reps for next year.
Okay.
You're developing this kid, and it's an opportunity. How do you reward Nick Mullens with another start after he throws 4 interceptions? That last throw, how do you, whatever the excuse, whatever the explanation, we talk about this all the time.
Yeah.
Big throw in a big spot. The opportunity comes along for an NFL quarterback very infrequently. Big throw in a big spot. And you either make it or you don't. And he whiffed. And it made it interception number 4 for the day. He looked just like the guy that we saw in San Francisco where I remember that Sunday night game against the Eagles. I didn't know Nick Mullens was playing for the Eagles that night.
Right.
But he was throwing it to the Eagles that night like he was. Let's take a break.
Eagles, right, yep.
Was he going to win? I bought that at the airport. Hadn't worn it. Hadn't had the occasion to wear it. But this is simple. George Pickens for Christmas was George Bailey. The Steelers, in a roundabout way, had seen what it was like as if George Pickens had never been born. And then they realized he has been born and he's on the team. Maybe we should get this guy the ball. We've been saying this all year. Scheme your offense to put the ball in his hands and let him do this. We've seen him do it. I don't know what the psychology is, what's going on behind the scenes that has caused the Steelers to deny themselves using, to the full extent, this guy who is special. Yeah. And he is.
Yeah.
And I know that there's no excuse for the lack of effort against the Colts. But how many great receivers have we seen over the years where they feel like they're ignored and they don't understand why and they can help the team win and the team's not using them? You act up eventually. It's human nature. We all would do that. So Pickens was incredible. Good for the Steelers to finally realize, let's get this guy the ball. Let's get this guy involved. Let's use his skills to our benefit.
Yeah, it was impressive, right? It really was. It was a highlight show for George Pickens. You make a lot of good points, and I think you just look at them and go, yeah, what is the problem? Why can't we figure out more ways to get him the football? To me, they look a little too much of like, hey, they just run an offense instead of every now and then, which good offenses do. They go, hey, we're going to run our offense with a eye on getting this guy the ball, right? We've seen the 49ers have a drive where, yeah, they're running their offense, but they're going to go to the Deebo Samuel plays here right now. Make sure they get him in the ball, get him in the game, get the ball to him, getting them a flow here a little bit, right? Oh, it's the Dolphins. Hey, it was good first drive. Second drive, there's a little bit of a, hey, we're going to get Tyreek the ball and get him going because we're better when he's functioning at a high level, and it makes the defense do different stuff once we start to feed him the ball. Pittsburgh they got to find ways to feature him a little bit more. There are too many just like, hey, this is the play, and if the read takes you there, like, screw all that. You got to have somewhere, no, like, this play is made for George Pickens, and we're going to get him the ball, whether it's behind the line of scrimmage, a slant, whatever. There has to be more of an effort there, and it just seems like that hasn't happened all year. But that was a big-time performance there by him, and a huge win with your pasta and meatballs, freaking Pittsburgh Steelers. Good pick by you.
And look, just to reiterate what I said during the pregame show, the Steelers have no desire whatsoever to change coaches. They have no reason to think Mike Tomlin wants to go. Yes, somebody could call and make them an offer they can't refuse, but they still can refuse it. If Tomlin doesn't want to go and they don't want him to go and they intend to extend his contract, it doesn't matter if the Commanders or the Panthers or the Chargers or whoever calls, nothing's going to happen.
No, yeah. It doesn't seem like it. I mean, again, Mike Tomlin, we know he's pretty special. And some of these issues I think that the Pittsburgh fans look at for the Steelers, they're not all Mike Tomlin issues. They're not. There's some things that the blame needs to go around to the rest of the organization a little bit too, with some things there. And from what you said on Saturday, it's good to hear that the Steelers are committed to him, and sounds like there's going to be something in the works to keep him even longer.
All right, another superlative, Chris, coming from the weekend that was, other than Monday. What do you got?
Well, the Jersey Joe Bomber. I mean, Jersey Joe Bomber, Joe Flacco. I mean, you heard me on Saturday going, rein Joe Flacco in a little bit. Rein him in, right? Well, they sure the hell didn't listen to me in Cleveland. I can tell you that much. It's still throw the damn ball down the field. And, hey, listen, I like it. And I know they can't run the ball like they want. They're beat up on the offensive line. They still got to rein him in a little, right? They might get away with it against the Houston Texans, but he did throw two first-half interceptions and got lucky with one or two in the second half too. But either way, the Browns are kind of my man-crush football team right now. I mean, they just go for it on both sides of the ball. Obviously, yeah, I think they're a little too aggressive on offense with Joe Flacco, and that needs to be managed to a degree. But damn, their defense, what they do, the plays they make, they squash you. They're smothering. And they, at one point in this game, were completely smothering the Houston Texans. And the Texans got, back in the game late when Cleveland got to prevent defense and whatever else. But this game was 36-7. The Browns are playing some high-level football. They got a Super Bowl defense. And if Joe Flacco can just not be too aggressive and crazy, damn, he might find his butt in the Super Bowl here. So you just got to be careful here. But Cleveland's certainly going to make things interesting in these AFC playoffs.
And I don't know about him finding his butt in the Super Bowl, but I do want him to find his butt back in Baltimore along the way. Browns at Ravens and Lions at Rams, or Rams at Lions.
Browns already beat the Ravens in Baltimore, too, so they ain't going to be scared.
Yeah, I know. And Matthew Stafford going back to Detroit, Joe Flacco going back to Baltimore, that would add some sizzle and some spice and maybe some anxiety to those home teams welcoming their former quarterbacks back to town. I don't think the Ravens after last night are going to be all that concerned about the Browns, but that's one of the ingredients in ending up getting a surprise when you're not as concerned as you should be. And I think anybody facing the Browns should be very concerned about what they can do because they're coupling the offense with a defense that is dominant, and the offense is improving, and Joe Flacco's getting better every week. He's in that age, Chris, where he can still do what he's always done physically, but he's seen so much. He's experienced so much. You can't fool him. He knows what's coming. We saw Tom Brady in that zone. We saw Peyton Manning in that zone. Aaron Rodgers in that zone. You get older, you're smarter, and you can still do the things you've always done physically, and you become a very dangerous quarterback. And when they have a very dangerous defense, Browns are going to be a dangerous team. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.